We're going to do some problem solving in this section. First, we're going to solve direct translation problems. There are a number of steps that you can follow, and you might like to have these steps in front of you as you do these problems. Our example says finding an unknown number. So 3 times a number subtracted from 2 equals twice the number added to 27. Find the number. When you see a problem like this, it might seem very difficult. But if you can do a direct translation of the problem, you should be able to come up with an equation and then solve the equation, and you'll have your solution. So first, we want to understand the problem. And sometimes that means that we have to read it and reread it to be able to understand it. We're going to take this step by step, piece by piece. We know how to write these expressions, and so we're going to link them together and at some point have an equation. So first, let's agree to use x to represent the unknown number. Let's do a direct translation. 3 times a number. Well, I can write that as 3x subtracted from 2. So we're either going to say minus 2 or we're going to have 2 minus 3x. Notice it says subtracted from 2, which means the 2 comes first. So 2 minus 3x equals, oh, that's the easy part, equals twice the number, 2 times the number, added to 27, plus 27. So this is a direct translation. Now look at the equation as I read the words one more time. We've got 3 times a number subtracted from 2, so that's 2 minus 3x, equals twice the number, 2 times x, added to 27, plus 27. And here's our equation. And now we're going to find the number. So we've seen equations like this. The first thing we need to do is get the x's on the same side. So I'm going to add 3x to the left-hand side and to the right-hand side. And I have 2 equals 5x plus 27. And now I need to get the number to the other side. The x variable is on one side of the equation. And to get the number on the other side, I'm going to undo the adding of 27. So I end up with negative 25 equals 5x. And now we divide both sides by 5 to get negative 5 equals x. Now we're going to check it in our equation. And so here is our check. 2 minus 3 times negative 5 equals 2 times negative 5 plus 27. And now, of course, do the left-hand side, do the right-hand side, and it checks. So negative 5 is the number that we begin with. 3 times the difference of a number and 5 is the same as twice the number decreased by 3. Find the number. Well, first of all, 3 times something is always 3 times. It says the difference of a number and 5. So that difference of a number and 5 is going to be in the parentheses. Now we put the x first because the word number came before the word 5. So this is the difference of a number and 5. Is, there's our equal sign, the same as, is the same as is equals, twice the number, 2x, decreased by 3, minus 3. Twice the number, decreased by 3. Find the number. Now all you have to do is solve the equation. Get the x's on one side. Get the numbers on one side. And now check your equation. And our equation checks. So x equals 12 is our solution. An 18 feet long rope is to be cut so that the longer piece is 5 times longer than the shorter piece. Find the length of each piece. So we're going to start out with a length of rope that is 18 feet long. And we're going to simply draw it like this. It says it's going to be cut so that the longer piece is 5 times longer than the shorter piece. So I'm just going to give myself a cut. We have a long piece, and that's in here, and we have a short piece, and that's in here. And it says the longer piece is 5 times longer than the shorter piece. So if I call the shorter piece x, then the longer piece is going to be 5 times x. And that means that 5x plus x is equal to 18. Now I'm going to simplify, and then I'm going to solve. And now you can check it. Put the 3 in for the x, so we have 5 times 3 plus 3 equals 18. That's 15 plus 3 equals 18. 18 equals 18, and that checks. Okay, so the first thing I did was draw a picture. Then I wrote in the information it gave me that the longer piece was 5 times longer than the shorter piece. I chose a length for the shorter piece, which was x. 5 times x would be 5x. And then I made my equation and solved. Example 4 says, through the year 2010, the state of California had 21 more electoral votes for president than the state of Texas. If the total electoral votes for these two states was 89, find the number of electoral votes for each state. So first we have to understand the question. We're talking about the electoral votes for California and Texas. The number of the votes for the two of these two states put together is 89. It says find the number of electoral votes for each state. So let's call California C, and we'll call Texas T. Do we see any information that's relating C and T? The one thing I do know is that C plus T is equal to 89. C represents the number of electoral votes for California. T represents the number of electoral college votes for Texas. So C plus T is 89. It says here the state of California had 21 more electoral votes for president than the state of Texas. That means California has 21 more votes for president than the state of Texas. And here's our equation. C equals 21 plus T. So now I can take this 21 plus T, and wherever I find C, I could put that information in there. So I've got 21 plus T equals 89. Now notice which part I substituted. This was my original equation, and I took the 21 plus T in for the C. So now I can continue my problem, and I can add things together. 21 plus 2T equals 89. Subtract 21 from each side, since we already have the T's on one side. We have 2T equals 68. I'm going to bring my problem up here. 2T equals 68, and that means that T equals 34. If T is 34, then California is 21 plus 34, and I got that from this equation, and that means California has 55 electoral votes. You can check it now. 55 plus 34 equals 89. Example 5 says, the second angle of a triangle measures twice as large as the first. If the third angle measures 40 degrees more than the first, find the measures of all three angles. Well, first we have to know that in a triangle, the angles all add up to 180 degrees. So if I call, let's say we have a first angle, a second angle, and a third angle. And please know that these are not drawn to scale. I don't know quite what the scale is yet. So if I have a first angle, second angle, and third angle, the three of them are going to add up to be 180 degrees. So let's call the first angle x. It says the second angle of the triangle is going to be twice as large as the first. If the first is x, then the second is 2x, twice as large as the first. If the third angle measures 40 degrees more than the first, then the third angle is going to be x plus 40 degrees. So I'm not going to worry about the degree symbol for now, but I'm going to add these three angles up. I know that the first angle plus the second angle plus the third angle are going to add up to 180 degrees. And now I need to simplify on the left-hand side and solve for x. So adding up all these x's, I get 4x plus 40 equals 180. Subtract 40 from each side, and I get 4x equals 140. Now I can divide both sides by 4, and I'm getting x equals 70 over 2, x equals 35. So the first angle is 35 degrees. The second angle would be twice that, and the third angle would be 40 degrees more than the first. So our first angle is 35 degrees, our second angle is 70 degrees, and our third angle is 75 degrees. Our last objective is about solving consecutive integer problems. In example 6, it says there are 4 consecutive integers. They're going to ask us to do some things involving 4 consecutive integers. So for a minute, I want you to think about what consecutive integers look like. What is a set of consecutive integers? Well, let me write some down for you. How about 1, 2, 3, and 4? Those are 4 consecutive integers. And I want to look at what I do to the 1 to get to the 2. And then what do I do to the 2 to get to the 3? And what do I do to the 3 to get to the 4? I'm adding 1 each time. And every consecutive integer is 1 away from the 1 before it. If I'm talking about consecutive integers, then I can start off with x, and the next consecutive integer will simply be x plus 1. And the next one after that would be x plus 1, which is x plus 2. And the next one would be x plus 3. So for the problem, it says the sum of the first and fourth of these consecutive integers is 125. Find the consecutive integers. So I'm going to start off with my integer of x. My next one will be x plus 1. Then I'll have x plus 2. And then I'll have x plus 3. When I add the first and the fourth of these integers, I have x and x plus 3. The question says the sum of the first and the fourth of these consecutive integers is 125. So this is the equation that I start out with. X plus 3 is 125. Find the consecutive integers. So what I really want to do is solve for x so I can find out what those 4 consecutive integers are. So I'm going to do some math here. I've got x plus x is 2x plus 3 equals 125. Now I subtract 3 from each side. I'm getting 2x equals 122. If I divide by 2, then I find that x is equal to 61. So far, my numbers are 61, 62, 63, and 64. And now I need to check. Is 61 plus 64 equal to 125? Yes, it is.